Yo, what's going on, everybody? Untitled Gamer here today, back at it again. With another lore video. Now, this video, we're going to be going ahead and discussing something so very vital in the upcoming DLC that will be with Sabathun. I don't say upcoming, but I'm talking about a year from now. And this is kind of a reference back to Destiny 1. This is just a lore video I wanted to make. This since a lot of this DLC Forsaken, the end content was a lot about the Hive and the Taken. I've been making videos about, characters such as Sabathun. I'm making one on Oryx right now. I just need to write my script for it, and I have one maybe on Zaifu Aerith if I can, get some information from her about her. There's some more details on her and how she plays a role in the uprise of the Taken. I'm going to keep this video very concise. I'm going to keep it short, as short as I can. And I say as short as I can, and I've been really rambling on. But let's just hop into this. So, today's topic, the sword logic. What is the sword logic, and how do we as Guardians exercise the sword logic, even though it is a hive practice? Alright, let's hop into this. Alright, so people, I was looking on Reddit, and people were saying, let me explain why the sword logic is, and I don't want to swear, but BS. I've killed Atheon, I've killed Crota, yet I can't kill Oryx. This is, kind of a joke when people were having struggles with Oryx, which was the hardest raid boss at the time, but has since been conquered by the Last Wish raid. Now, according to sword logic, I should be able to write to the rite of passage, the right to not have to prove myself to the war priest, the right to just go right to Oryx and kill him. But this is wrong. To do that, you need money logic. You must sacrifice $40 to the deep to gain enough power to kill Oryx. Now, again, this was a joke. But let's actually hop into this seriously. So, this is a summary of the sword logic. The sword logic isn't a system of magic that somehow makes you more powerful the more you kill. If anything, it's the exact opposite. It's the exact opposite. You kill to show you are more powerful than what you killed, and therefore more worthy of existence. The sword logic isn't really killing to gain power. It's when you kill, you prove that you are more worthy. And this worthiness, the King's Fall raid, led us to actually go and pursue Oryx and his champions and kill them, in order to kind of exact revenge for Eris's sake. So, you're not gaining power by destroying what is weak. You're just proving that you are powerful, that you are part of the final shape of the universe. Now, Oryx talks about the final true shape of the universe. He's basically referring to, it's an ideology. It will never exist. It's impossible. It's an ideal. The ideal is that he will be a part of this final universe where everything's taken. Now the ideal final form is would be different for everybody. For Oryx, it would probably be everyone. He controls armies. He's conquered everything. For Callus, it would probably be, just, let's see, Callus, probably exacting revenge on those who exiled him, killing all of those who traded him, who led the Midnight Coup. And who else would there be? I guess Sabathun gaining full control over the Taken and destroying the Guardians. It's predicated on the philosophy of the deep as ascribed to Orash in the Book of Sorrows. The idea that all life is a struggle for existence. Therefore, the only meaning in life is being able to assert and protect that existence. Anything else, at best, is just a distraction. And that's one hell of a way to live. Knowing that, I mean, the only way to live a life for the hive was to kill. If you don't kill and assert your dominance, you die and you're imperfect, you're impure, and you had to be cut out from the final shape of the universe. It's a cancer, it must be cut out. That's what Oryx said. Now, this is hive logic, so I mean I can't really compare to this. Real life comparisons, I don't know. But anyways, let's keep going. The sword logic is the natural extension of that idea. If all that matters is asserting the right to exist, then we should constantly test that right by fighting everyone we come across. So actually, there's a real life example. Back in the medieval days, knights would have their shields outside of their tents. They could be challenged whenever. To challenge another knight, you would take your sword and bang on the shield. It's basically kind of like what we do in the War Priest encounter in King's Fall. We kill enemies, we charge the Death Singer totems, and we kind of basically we're telling the War Priest, hey dude, we're here, we want to fight you to gain the rite of passage, and we kill him and gain the rite of passage to continue onward to challenge Oryx, because only the worthy challenge Oryx. Alright, I'll be right back, everyone. There'll be a little bit of a jump cut, but I promise it'll be quick. My apologies, everyone. After sitting for so long and reading, I had to kind of look away for a second, collect my thoughts, so I stop stuttering and hop back into that. So, where were we? Alright, so if we lose at all, we aren't worthy of existing in the first place and deserve to be wiped out again. It's like a cancer, you will cut it out in order to make yourself more perfect, or, I mean, a real life example, get yourself to a much healthier condition. Either way, the universe will be moving a step closer to the final form, as Oryx calls it. That the deep Oryx and Toland, the kind of the warlock who was obsessed with the hive and their ways and their origins, and it kind of led him to madness. Actually, no. Supposedly he died in the raid on Crota Stoneworld with Ariana 3, Veltarlo, Eris Morn, and all the others, but we know that he is not dead, and actually he might even be in control of the Taken, or may have a role. We don't know, because in the Ascendant plane, we hear Toland, and he speaks to us. So whether Toland's senses are pure or not is a story for a different video. Anyways, Toland, the Deep, and Oryx describe a universe dominated by a force that has mastered existence so fully that any other life form can only exist by its will alone. Not by its assertion, but by its will. The second definition of the sword logic is one that I have read very often, one that I believe is what the sword logic is truly, is that it does make you more powerful, and that killing increases your power. This makes sense. Like I said, that it makes sense to me. I can't think of it right now without looking at my notes. So let's go ahead and take a look and continue on. In addition to increasing your own power, the sword logic involves a sword, and the sword itself becomes more powerful, morphing and changing with the act of killing. An article on Twinfinite by Ian Lepkowski has a very nice summary of this interpretation. Ian Lepkowski says the following: in the way of the hive, there is no difference between love and death. There is part of what the hive referred to as their sword logic. For the hive, to be killed is to be shown their weakness. giving them a chance to learn from them and become stronger. For the hive, there is no greater gift than death. But the hive do not become greater only through death. They also become greater through killing. What's special about the hive sword is that it drinks the light of all that it kills. It takes in its energy and becomes stronger, sharper. It becomes bigger, and its hunger multiplies infinitely. This is kind of like the hive worms. You can feed them, and their hunger only grows. And for we know, there is no way to fully satisfy a worm to the point where it falls off. It will always get hungrier. So in Oryx's case, his worm required knowledge to be fed, and killing. So killing was how he fed his worm, but it was an infinite kind of cycle. So the only way to really get the worm off is kind of impossible, which is why the war priest, serves Oryx. The war priest's purpose is to kind of lead the hive or the taken and hive army, and to find a way to kind of rid Oryx of his worm and free him of his chains, kind of to break his chains from the worms. If that's possible, I don't really think so, but we cannot know for sure. With enough strength, a hive sword can cut through the fabric of space and time, opening portals into new dimensions, such as what Crota did to allow the Vex into Oryx's throne world. There are two main definitions I have seen discussed. However, before moving on to my own opinion, which I already stated, either way, both of these theories are very good. They make a lot of sense. It depends on what you want to believe, whether it's believe that sword logic is the act of killing to gain more power, or that the sword logic is proving your worth in the universe by asserting your dominance. But there is another concept in the Book of Sorrows called the killing logic. There's a nice post by Pig on the Bungie forums explaining the difference between sword logic and killing logic. Now, let's look at some references here. Verse 2, part 2 of the Book of Sorrows reads, "Out of the deep from the Book of Sorrows is one of the first mentions of logic. The three sisters, Arx, Savathun, and Seifu-Earth, have made a bargain with the worms and seek revenge on Teox, the traitor. Seifu-Earth, the warrior, is tasked with tracking Teox to Kaharn Atoll and slaughtering everyone at the location. The Grimoire card says this: overwhelm the Kaharn bastion, slaughter everyone there. The Orax, we shall obtain the logic we require to cut space open and migrate to orbit." Now this reference suggests that in order to kind of prove your worth, to gain more power, which is to gain more abilities, I guess, the ability to cut through time and space, in this case, you have to kill. This is the killing logic, / the sword logic, I guess. They're kind of the same thing. I don't really know what the difference is. Anyways. Verse 2, part 6 of the Book of Sorrows says this: the sword logic refers, more specifically, to the use of a blade. The worm god Akka is speaking to Arx. It says this: "We will not give you the deep, King Arx. That power is for us, your gods. But we will teach you to call upon that force with signs and rituals. Kill 100 of your children with a long blade, Arx, and observe the change in the blade. Observe how the universe shrinks from you in terror. Your existence begins to define itself." Now this is referring to assertion, dominicial assertion, I will call it, which is killing to not only make you stronger, is to prove your place in the universe, assertion of dominance. It is to push the universe to its final shape, which is what Oryx continuously said. This reinforces that sword logic does make you more powerful, and performing these rituals with a sword and killing others, even those that are your own children, draws power from the deep. Now, the deep is basically the enemy of the sky, and the sky is what gave the traveler is a servant of the sky, a being of the sky. That's what the light is. The deep is the darkness. So basically, the ancient enemy of the traveler and what keeps balance in the universe. Verse 3, Part 1, Incision, explains how a hive sword charged with death can cut holes through dimensions. Oryx's sister, Stevathun, says the following. I have studied the wounds cut by the worm, our god. Also, I have studied the manner of your death and return. These two things are the same, for they are predicated on death and the passage through cut spaces. Let us practice this sword logic until we are sharp. We may then cut our own wounds and step through. Saifu-Arath, who is the Night Morph, and whose nature is to constantly be at war, says this. I am already sharp. Look, my sword cuts into another space, and she cut her way between moons through green fire and joyous screams. Oryx then says the following. This is where I went when I died. Let us establish our thrones here. Now, there was more to the quote, but of course Oryx is saying, or Oryx, the lesser version of Oryx, is saying that this is where we will form our throne world. Now, this green hellfire, is this the Oversoul? Is this the green hellfire that we see in the Oversoul in Crota's End? And what kind of, is this another dimension? What is this green soul fire? It's the same green soul fire that we see in Eris Morn's rock, which actually she's carrying around in Ahamkara bone. Or maybe it's a moldering shard, but I believe it's an Ahamkara bone. So she did make a bargain with Ahamkara, but that's for a different video. Let's continue on. So you can see that Saifu-Arath, the Night Morph, has already killed and slaughtered many beings, and her sword already has the power to cut holes in dimensions. And they cut a hole into the afterlife, the place where Oryx went when he died. This becomes the hive netherworld. Okay, this is the hive netherworld. The green soulfire is the netherworld. That makes sense now. It's a concept that is not just the wielder who becomes more powerful, but the sword. I believe the sword is more figurative. I think it's the weapon itself, just whatever weapon. So in our case, the Guardian's example, it is the Touch of Malice. With that weapon, we are proving the sword logic, proving that we are worthy, and pushing the universe to its final shape. Alright. Again, it's not just the wielder who becomes more powerful, it is the weapon itself. This concept is reinforced in the Ascendant Sword Grimoire card, which says the following. Let me give you a gift, Eris. Let me tell you about this power and the logic of the sword. A shredder or a boomer is a powerful weapon, but it kills acyclically. You see, it sends out harm and it takes nothing back. The pull passes away into nothing. A sword, though. A sword is like a bridge, a crossing point. The sword binds wielder to victim. It binds life to death. And when the binding is done, the sword remembers. When the boomer's fire has burnt away into axion and neutrino scatter, the sword goes on, hungrier and sharper. Understand that the nightmare logic underpins his nightmare world, and you will see why the Ascendant Blade has so much power there. Whenever in our passage we find ourselves in need of power, remember that the greatest authority here is a blade made keen by eons of use. This is the world the hive craves, a universe creased by the edge of the sharpest sword. Now, I believe this is also why we go ahead and take the shard of reoccur and form it into a sword, because we realize Eris tells us that a sword is more powerful than a gun in terms of the hive sword logic. This is why it's called sword logic and not the auto rifle logic or the hand cannon logic. Also, in terms of getting the exotic swords, Destiny 1 from the Shards of Reoccur, you had a legendary sword, and as you killed, the blade would begin to change and get sharper, and you would grow stronger. This is, again, the sword logic, the part of the sword logic that I believe is true in Destiny 2 and Destiny 1. In verse 3, part 6, star by star by star, Arx, Savathun, and Zephyr have reached a point where they are unable to satisfy the hunger of their worms. Savathun says this, I plot and plan, but I cannot gather enough bloodshed to feed my worm, and the harder I try, the hungrier it becomes. Zephyr says, I slaughter and kill, but the harder I fight, the more my worm demands. I too am at my end. Arx also says that the Ecumene war angels have killed me so many times that I dare not go out into the universe, lest I need my might to protect myself. My worm chews at my soul in hunger. It appears that this race, the Ecumene, and these warriors, called Ecumene war angels, have been very successful at stopping the Hive Crusade and continue to kill Arx. Arx devises a plan to increase his power, and he kills his sisters. Verse 3, part 6 says this, I know a way, King Arx says, but it will require great power, more power than any one of us can claim. Then kill me, says Zephyr, and use that killing logic, the power you prove by killing something as mighty as me. So King Oryx took up his blade and beheaded Zephyr, and strangle me, says Savathun, holding a blade behind her back. Use that killing logic, the cunning you prove by killing something as smart as me. But King Arx turned with the speed and might of Zephyr and beheaded Savathun before she could move. King Arx was the first navigator with the map of death. These were true deaths, for they happened in the sword world. Then he went to the worm named Akka. There are a couple of really important points here. First, it introduces the killing logic. This is the first and last time the killing logic is mentioned in the Book of Sorrows. It is a very brief mention. My understanding of killing logic is that it just means you have proven that you are stronger or more cunning than something else. Killing logic doesn't give you power, it just proves that you were more powerful the entire time. So I guess the other theory of the sword logic could be the killing logic. I believe that this scene, where Oryx kills both his sisters, involved the killing logic but also involved the sword logic. Oryx used a sword to kill Saifu-Aerith. This increased his power instantly. This is demonstrated when Oryx turned with the speed and might of Saifu-Aerith. And beheaded Savathun. It is like Oryx absorbed Saifu-Aerith's power. Interestingly, Savathun, the cunning, was going to betray Oryx. She had a knife behind her back, and this is why she says for Oryx for him to strangle her. If he did, she would have killed him with the knife and gained Oryx's power because the knife that she had, well, a knife is a blade. However, true to the killing logic, Oryx is more cunning than Savathun, and he proved this by decapitating her. Verse 3, part 6 continues by saying, Oryx now has the power of Zaifu and Savathun, and heads to confront the worm Akka. When Oryx finds Akka, he demands that Akka share the secrets of the deep. Oryx wants the power of the deep, not just the signs and rituals, but one direct line with the deep and its power. Akka refuses, and Oryx responds with this. You worship the deep, which asks that we take what we need, but you give us your larva, the worm. And that is why the worm devours us now, because it was given, not taken. So I must take what I need from you, although you are my god. Akka responds, But you have not the strength. The card continues. But this was a lie. Arvix had killed Savathun's sibling and Xivu Arath's sibling, and he had the sword logic of killing them. Arvix was the first navigator, and he set upon his god with a sword and his words, and cut Akka to pieces, and took from those pieces the secret of calling upon the deep. He wrote the secret on a set of tablets, which he called the Tablets of Ruin, and he wore them about his waist. And Oryx said, "Now I may speak to the deep, the beautiful final shape. I will be king of shapes. I will learn all the secrets of our destiny." At this point, Oryx becomes Oryx, the Taken King, as he has learned the power to take. After all, Oryx believes that true power comes from taking, not giving, which is why Oryx does not give Crota the Tablets of Ruin when Crota asks for them, instead of giving a Tablet of Ruin to Golgoroth, which we then see in the King's Fall raid. Again, true power comes from taking, not giving, and this is why he believes that the worm larva is kind of a problem. The symbiotic essence is causing them more harm than good, because it was given and not taken. So once again, it reinforces the sword logic does grant you power, as Oryx had increased his power, allowing him to challenge his god Akka, and he also killed Akka with a sword. The secret he gained from this allowed him to directly speak with and call upon the deep. The deep is what he uses to take. And if Savathun has mastered this power, or even Cordia, Blaze Transform, then that means they too know the power of the deep. Previously, the hierarchy was this: the deep at the top, then the worm gods, then Oryx. Likewise for guardians, it is the sky, the traveler, and then guardians. Power flows down the line from the deep and the sky. Oryx has moved himself one step up the ladder and now speaks directly with the deep and channels its power. I believe that using sword logic has a twofold effect on the hive. This ritual works in perfect unison with the worms. Oryx has a worm inside him who he feeds through conquering the universe. This, in turn, makes Oryx more powerful. The more powerful he is, the more his worm demands of him. The more he must take. The more lives he must take to grow stronger. Through slaughtering his enemies with a blade, he gains their abilities, strength, and cunningness, increasing his power, whilst also satisfying his worm, therefore increasing his power again. This is an endless cycle. This will never end, which is why I believe that the War Priest, if we didn't kill him, which he has an oversoul, so he probably is alive again. It's why I believe that there would be no way to free Oryx of his worm. But he's dead, so there's no way of freeing the hive of their symbiotic worm. Alright. Also, not to mention that the sword logic grants the ability to cut through space and dimensions, which allowed Oryx to create his throne world. Again, he cut through dimensions, formed his throne world, and pushed it inside out into a space, which then became the Dreadnought. That's the end of my script. That's the end of the lore video, guys. 30 minutes. I'm really sorry. I gotta work on making these videos a lot smaller. These videos are way too long. And I know a lot of you guys don't want to listen to me talk for 30 minutes. I apologize for making some shorter videos. I've been saying that. But I promise you guys, the viewer, I will be making shorter videos. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys next time. Farewell. If you want to support but do not know a how, you can put the sword logic You can comment saying the sword logic in the comment section below. Thank you for watching again. Your support means a lot to me, and I'm pretty lucky to be here with you guys. See you guys later.